with module 2 now, since that module 1 was really really easy, very very weak, right? We can have a look at this now. This module 2 should have been completely fine. So looking at whatever that is, I could do a better drawing than that. But we're asked to insert arrows to illustrate the direction of water movement from the soil into the different areas of the plant root shown in the diagram. Alright? So firstly, no. Oh, I was reading at point 1, but point 2, oh sorry, point 2, but point 1 asks us to identify and label 3 different types of root cells. What are the different types that we would show? Not even that. I want you guys to label everything at this point. What's this here? What's that?
Root here.
And what are root hairs?
Extensions from the epithelial cells.
Extensions of epithelial cells. Lovely. Right? What are these here? Let me just. These are cells from what part of the plant? What part of the cambium? These are cortical cells, right? And it's usually majority, not saying that all of it is, but majority of it is the cortical parenchyma. Why that looks so? I can't. Oh, parenchyma. Parenchyma. Alright? So I have that. A good amount it is sclerenchyma as well. Okay? Now let me ask, what is this here? What is this? The outer layer of the ring.
Endodermis.
The endodermis. Okay. And what are the notable features about the endodermis? Anybody else? Because one person can answer everything.
Sorry, it has suberin.
What has suberin and lignin? What is the name?
Casparian strip.
The Casparian strip. Right? And it contains suberin and lignin. Lovely. Right? And right underneath the endodermis, we have this. What is this called?
The pericycle.
The pericycle, right? So the pericycle, and it contains parenchymal cells, right? Lovely. What is this as opposed to this? So as the first one, what's a star-shaped large structure there?
The X is a xylem.
Xylem. Okay, and the next is the phloem.
Phloem.
No, this isn't that hard. Alright, so that's it, right? Describe how water potential facilitates. No, never mind. Illustrate the direction of water movement. What would be the direction? Wait, hold on. Let me really. Illustrate the direction of water movement from the soil into the different areas of the plant shown in the diagram. You sure that's 3 marks? Like, are you sure that's 3 marks?
Sir, sir, maybe.
I don't know. Probably you're supposed to do this.
Sir, they are going to talk about the apoplastic and symplastic part, probably.
Yeah, so I'm showing Simplast right now to the best of my ability on this computer.
Sir, I'm not seeing a plasmodesmata, so more than likely it's that.
Plasma so Simplast, right? But apoplast would be through the cell wall, right? So you're gonna be traveling through the cell wall. It's usually more to bypass the Casparian strip, right? So there are 2 different ways, right? The apoplast and the Simplast. I mean, okay. Describe how water potential facilitates. Somebody shoot. Or does water potential facilitate movement of water? Because I did discuss this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So through the movement of facilitated diffusion and active transport of ion octave from the soil, once it moves through the whole root hair cell and the collenchyma into the xylem, so it will create a reduced water potential, and as a result, it will facilitate osmosis, which will flow from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration, moving water into the cell
Lovely. All right. So
from
that
the
is the
soil.
so water potential increase is going that way. Is that true? From high water potential to low water potential, right? So water potential increases that way. Solute
Yeah,
concentration, however, increases this way.
yes, sir.
You're just using square brackets like a chemistry medal. Solute concentration. Um, right. So that is that. So that makes sense. So the water potential gradient is set up outside of the plant would have a way higher water potential than inside of the plant. And as you come closer to the xylem, you'd have a smaller and smaller water potential. Or we move from high water potential to low water potential. So let's say that the xylem is 10, here is 9, here is 7, here is 5, here is 4, here is around 3, and then out here is 0.001. Right? Looking at that, how does that look? Is that the wrong gradient? Right? We're looking at the concentration of ions, right? So if the ion concentration is higher in the xylem, right, therefore water is moving from outside the plant going in, right? So the numbers I wrote down is what's for the ion concentration, right? Oppositely, if we had the water potential gradient being set up now, right? Let's say that the water potential out here is probably like 10, right? And then a 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, right? You move from higher to lower. Okay? So you just need to describe the water gradient. That's 2 marks. That's fine. Soil water. Oh wow, this entire section was about plants, wasn't it? Alright. Soil water is as well as other environmental factors such as light affects the transpiration rate in plants. Figure 2 shows the influence of 4 different light intensities on the transpiration rate in of a common sage plant. All the measurements were conducted at 60 and 75 after the installation of the plants, right? Um, to the 4 different light intensities, right? So 60 and 75 days rather, all right? So looking at the light intensity and what happens, so transpiration rate, how it looked. Okay, that's pretty fine. So let's have a look at this now. Compare the observed differences in the transpiration rate at 60 days and 75 days at the highest intensities and lowest intensities. Go ahead.
So the rate of transpiration at 60 days is significantly like higher than at 75 days for the state um for the one sage plant.
Okay. Looking at the highest points and lowest points, so the 100% light to see that these are the higher. This is higher. Lowest point, that's the highest point for the 60 days. The lowest point for the 75 days is around 75% light intensity, right? Could look at those things. What we're supposed to do is just look at them, right? And compare the observed differences between the highest transpiration rate at 60 and 75 days, right? At the highest intensities and the lowest intensities, right? So the highest intensities for the 60 is going to be this up here, and the lowest intensity when the lowest for 60 is gonna be this intensity 25 down here. For 75 days, the highest intensity is gonna be 50, and the lowest intensity is gonna be 75. All right. So we're seeing that the intensity would have decreased when it goes to 75 and start to increase when it goes back up to 50. All right. what we're supposed to do is interpret the graph. Really and truly, again, I'll say for these type of questions, you don't need to know biology, just interpret the graph. Alright? No one must explain the differences. Right? This is not where you need to know the biology. Explain the differences between the transpiration rates on a sunny day and at night. So what's the differences? What are going to be the main differences for sunny day and at night? Go ahead, Amon.
The sun. But the rate of transpiration would be on it. Mm,
What's gonna be somebody go?
ah, rate, the rate of transpiration would decrease in the night and increase in the day. Remarks.
Increase, right? Decrease. We're asked to explain why.
All right. So in the day, when the sun is out, the stomach, the guard cells lining the port, the stomata on the underside of the leaves would close to limit the amount of water lost by the cell. In the night, these cells would organize and open up. Hmm. Give me a second, sir, that I can compile my thoughts.
All right, that's rather interesting. Because you're not wrong per se. Looking at differences in transpiration rates at day and at night. What are the main differences? Did I say companion? The guard cells. Go ahead.
Sir, transpiration rates on a sunny day would be higher because, well, you have factors such as light intensity and temperature to increase the rate of, um, well, yeah, will increase the rate of transpiration, as well as like it could have wind as well.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was saying before, the guard cells would close to retain as much water as possible. As in the night now, where you don't have as many factors such as light and like temperature acting out, you may have wind, or you may have wind, but as a result, you don't have a lot of factors really affecting the rate of transpiration like it does on a sunny day. So as a result, you have the guard cells opening because there would be a lot of humidity around the plant per se.
Okay.
So it would allow water vapor to diffuse.
Humidity is a concept, so don't say a lot of humidity. It's gonna be very humid, or there are gonna be a lot of water molecules present around the leaf. Alright. So in the sunny day, what's happening with the light intensity? The light intensity is high, right? That will promote stomatal opening. That will promote the guard cells to actually swell up and open, right? That's because it's promoting potassium entering into the guard cells that will increase the turgidity. All right. Temperature also would be very, very high, right? And that will increase the rate of evaporation, right? Thus increasing the rate of transpiration. Now the guard cell will close, right, to prevent too much water from escaping, but that does not mean that the transpiration rate is low. It does that because the transpiration rate is high, right? For the humidity as well, it's gonna be very well, humidity is actually going to be lower in higher. It's gonna be lower. It's gonna be lower, right? So since it's going to be lower, it's going to promote transpiration pool as water will start to leave the surrounding leaves, right? So it will start to leave through, right? And windiness, right? It's not they didn't say anything about windiness, so we're not going to count that. But for at night, the light intensity would actually be decreasing, right? Therefore, it's not going to promote the movement of potassium into the guard cells. So the guard cells would more unlikely want to stay shut, right? The temperature is very cool and will reduce the rate of evaporation of water, so that will lower the transpiration rate, as well as the fact that humidity itself will be higher somewhat at night, increasing the amount of water vapor within the air around the leaves, which will lower the transpiration rate, as it will not contribute to a heightened increase of transpiration pool, right? Those type of things. That's what we need to talk about. All right. And yeah, I'm glad I'm recording this because all of that not information, mm, it's gonna be a pain to write all of that down. But it's really, really that, really and truly that. All right. So the transport is essential is an essential process for life in both plants and animals. Blood is an important transport medium in animals and has various components. Figure 3 shows a pictomicrograph of red blood cells and white blood cells, right? So looking at that, we're supposed to do is draw them, right? No so? What's the question asking about us to draw them? Must draw one erythrocyte and one leukocyte. So you guys can draw out erythrocytes?
Yes, sir.
So I think what I did on the
Sir,
paper. Go ahead.
do your thing.
All right. So what I did on the paper was this, and then showed this for the erythrocytes, right? And then in the diagram specifically, what I saw were granulocytes. This is an eosinophil, right? Well, let's just call it a leukocyte because they didn't ask you to show off all the knowledge when people in paper, right? So the red blood cell, I did that for, right? I just drew those basically, and then I just chose the eosinophil, right? So you know that white blood cells have generally irregular shapes. They have lobed nuclei, right? And they tend to be granular, right? But the granules may be a little bit difficult to draw for some persons, right? So I just left it as that to show that they're differentiated by a lobe nucleus, and I call it a day, right? Or we're supposed to label it.
Wait, did you call out it's 7 marks?
It's yeah, it's 7
No, it
marks.
never said a label.
Yeah, so that's kind of crazy though,
Why did you
because
call out that?
why did what?
Did you call out like for the red blood cell?
Wait, why? Okay, repeat the. Could you rephrase the question? Go ahead. So,
Why did you draw the cell and
mm-hmm.
then you draw the arrow and draw something else?
Okay, I drew it like that because looking at it from this view, I wouldn't see the biconcave shape that is characteristic. So I drew like the biconcave shape as well. So like I drew both sections. I drew a top down and a cross section, right? Because the structure of the erythrocyte is primarily characterized by its biconcave shape. So had like there was no way I'm going to give you in the paper without showing the biconcave shape. Right, so I just had to do it. And that's what I did, right? I just did it. But we just need to know the biconcave shape for it though. To draw a diagram. I did it much differently than this. You know, like how textbooks show cross sections, right? I did like this and then drew like a dotted line and thing and then project it and show the biconcave shape. Alright, I sat down and worked on it as a visual art student. But yeah, so I did that, and then for the white blood cell, I basically drew an eosinophil, basically lobe nuclei and stuff. But the thing is that they didn't ask us to really go ahead.
The weight of the mark and the work just concerning.
It's very
Me no know for
concerning.
me alone.
Mm-hmm. But it's in my year
It
group.
just those.
It's in my year group when I had no questions, when I had no problems, right? We didn't get up and start an entire protest, but we just did the thing. All right. So the thing is though, what we did right here, right? I think it's about recognizing which cells are which, because you're gonna. It's the use of knowledge that they're testing, right? Recognizing which cells are which and knowing which cell to draw. Right, so those things are quite important as it relates to that. 7 marks was a bit weird though, but probably drawing as detailed as possible, right? Probably you put some granules in it, but you know these questions won't repeat. This is a paper too. I don't think it will come back in the same way that it came back recently. But the eosinophils are granulocytes, so not a granulocyte. But 7 marks seems weird, yes, but that's generally it. This question, this question, I cried after the exam after doing this question. I knew I got it right though because I got an A for module two. But athletes are advised that peak performance can be obtained with a heart rate between 80 and 120 beats per minute. When the heart rate is above 160 BPM, the heart cannot fill efficiently and the cardiac output decreases. Cardiac output is defined as the stroke volume times the heart rate, as I discussed before, right? Justify why cardiac output increases during peak performance in athletes, but decreases when the heart rate exceeds 160. Explain that. Let me guess, we want to know the marks before we touch it, right? I'm wondering, when you guys see questions, do you guys look down at the marks before you even start anything? Cause I answer the questions and then look at the mark after I'm done answer, you know.
Nope, I have to see what I'm working for.
Okay, so look at the marks and then go ahead. 8 marks. Somebody start us off with the first point. What's the first thing you'd mention?
um, I'll sit this one out.
No, we're
Could you
reviewing.
scroll up so I can see the full question, please, sir?
Repeat?
Could you go up a little so I can see the full question?
Okay, that's the full question. Okay. Where the future vascular surgeons and cardiothoracic surgeons? Biology 2 is both a stepping stone. Biology Unit 2. So go ahead. What's this? Why does cardiac output increase during peak performance? But why does it decreases when the heart rate exceeds 160 beats per minute?
I would go back to module one.
Um, what's it?
Okay, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so at peak performance, which is 80 to 120 beats per minute, the heart rate is beating high, beating faster than normal, but at the same time, still beating at a rate where all compartments of the heart can feel properly before pushing out the blood. After the heart rate exceeds 160 BPM, the compartments of the heart are unable to fill properly, and so efficiency decreases.
Okay,
That's
thank
my
you.
guess.
Okay,
And
now
also, I would
justify.
include something like the blood vessels are not able to bring oxygen towards the what am the name?
Right. Whatever the
Sir,
name.
You know
could
what
it
Capillaries.
it
also be
is?
that
The
could it
arteries
also be
that
that the
supply
body is
Oh,
go on.
it's it's simply saying it's not being supplied with enough oxygen to carry out the work then in per se.
yeah, but like we reached this part of the question yet? Like this is the question, you know. Like the thing is though, right? Okay, let's break it up. Justify why the cardiac output increases during peak performance. Explain that part. Why does it increase during peak performance? So we're talking about the increase from 80 to 120 thereabout, going up to 160. Why does it increase? Somebody explain that part first. Break it into two. Get 4 marks from that, and then 4 marks for the next part. Go ahead. Why does it increase in peak performance?
So we're explaining why a faster heart rate would increase peak performance or cause
We're,
peak
we're
performance.
asking why the cardiac output increases during peak performance. Why does what is cardiac output? Somebody define that,
So
please.
are we explaining why heart rate increases?
No, we're explaining why cardiac output increases, not heart rate. Well, I mean, heart rate is a component of cardiac output. Cardiac output is stroke volume times the heart rate.
Okay, so sorry.
Did somebody go ahead?
Make I try something?
Okay,
A
try
little
something.
piece of
Try.
Alright, so I would first define cardiac output, which is the volume of blood pumped out per minute.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave us the formula.
Mm-hmm.
So I would then define stroke volume, the amount of blood pumped into the left ventricle.
Mm-hmm.
That's all per contraction. Yeah.
Pump into the wait.
Then
Pump into the left ventricle.
per contraction.
Pump into the left ventricle.
And also and
Pump
also
out of the left ventricle.
out.
Yeah. Minus the
Uh,
residual blood that is left in.
uh,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Continue.
I think I should explain it with blood pressure in a sense,
Okay.
because normal blood pressure is 120 over 18, which is at 80 to 120 beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
So because the pressure being exerted is in the normal range, the the cardiac output would increase because the chambers are getting the right amount of blood and losing the right amount of blood at the same time, at no, not the same time, but like at a efficiently. So everything is going good in that sense.
Okay.
I know that is that part more fancy in a bit. That
Okay.
makes sense.
That it makes sense, but we're not getting. The thing is, no, we're explaining the increases, but we're not getting why it is increasing and justifying why it is increasing. Go ahead.
So, sir, what I would do is that I would, well, based on the fact that them do so much line, I mean, that's my do like right. First, I would divide cardiac output into its individual component and then justify why each of them increase. I would say during peak performance, nerve impulses travel along the sympathetic pathway to the senior atrial node, which increases the frequency of contraction and hence the heart rate increases. I would also allude to the fact that during exercise, hormones such as nitric oxide is released, which dilates atrials, which support, which go to muscles which are exercising, and hence the amount of blood flowing back into the heart increase. So as such, the stroke volume increase. An increase in both parameters would automatically increase the cardiac output. But then after the 160, mother say, boy, the amount of blood, because if it a beat at 160 beat per minute, it's beating very fast. So I guess the heart isn't being filled enough, and hence the stroke volume isn't as much, and then the cardiac output would have decreased.
Okay, but why? The
Are
thing
you
is,
waiting for us to say that the heart rate increases because increases to supply more blood to the muscles?
yes, because it's an athlete and their peak performance, right? It's an athlete. We're having more respiration occurring, meaning more hemoglobin needs to go to the blood, not to the blood, to the tissues, meaning blood needs to travel faster, meaning the cardiac output must increase. Right? Does that make sense? More muscles
Yes,
mean more
it does.
respiration, right? And if there's more respiration, we have higher carbon dioxide concentration, meaning that the chemoreceptors within the blood vessels will pick up the higher acidity, which will trigger the sympathetic nervous system to cause the heart to beat faster, right? And if heart rate increases, right, along with if we times that by the regular stroke volume of the heart, cardiac output will increase. So looking at that, stroke volume is the constant. Cardiac output is directly proportional to heart rate. Look at that. If stroke volume is the constant, that is what's happening there. So understanding why it is because everybody explained in specifically different ways, right? How cardiac output increases, right? How, but looking at the why it increases and justifying why it increases, right? Lovely. Okay, ready to move on to why it decreases now? After exceeding that? I don't know if I lost anybody. Please tell me that I haven't lost you guys.
I don't think so.
Okay, lovely. So why does it decrease now? I think it was Laquan that was talking about blood pressure. She hit the nail on its head when it comes to that. When we increase the beats per minute to that amount, right? We know that not only is the heart not feeling efficiently, as it's stated in the question, right? But the pulse rate will increase, the blood pressure will be affected somewhat. right? Somewhat, right? So if we can see that the heart isn't really filling efficiently, the left ventricle isn't really filling efficiently, right? If it's not filling efficiently, not enough blood is going to the lungs, right? In order to be oxygenated, to be sent around the heart. So it's trying to like send blood as quick as possible, not really focusing on how much blood is being sent, how much viable blood is being sent around the body, right? Why is the heart continuing to decrease now? Since this is inefficient, since no matter how hard the heart pumps, right, with all that reduced cardiac output, right, there is still an increase or a stable level of lactic acid within the muscles. There are still increase of acidity in the body, right? What is going to happen now? The Bohr effect. The Bohr effect states that certain mechanisms are in place to push the entire graph, right? If you think about the graph, right, we're pushing all the body systems towards the right or the left. The left, right, to increase the amount of oxygen that can enter. What that will do now? What happens within the heart? What happens within the body? Right? Once the body figures out that this is happening, right, it will fire the parasympathetic nervous system, right, which will cause, right, what, hyperventilation, right? It will cause some hyperventilation, causing more oxygen to come in, right? It will try to decrease the heart rate. After, how does it decrease the heart rate? The parasympathetic nervous system will decrease the frequency of firing from the SA node, right? The body will try to come back down to equilibrium, right? It will try to now bring the heart rate back under the 160 BPM, back to around the 80 to 120 BPM. So since it is not doing it so efficiently, right, and the acidity of the blood continues to rise, carbon dioxide concentration continues to rise, right? This is detected by the body, and the parasympathetic nervous system tries to slow down the heart so it can actually gain proper stroke volume and proper cardiac output, right? So we're trying to use homeostasis. It's really homeostasis now. It's really a part of homeostasis. This question really comes into homeostasis a little bit, right? Trying to bring back everything back to the constant internal environment. So when the heart exceeds a certain rate, right, the parasympathetic nervous system is the thing that fires, right? The reason why the heart actually increases in its rate, right, the heart rate and the cardiac output, is via the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system are central to answering to this question, at least from my standpoint. Okay, so we need to get that underway. Right, 8 marks. I have to explain and justify why it is increasing, right, during peak performance in athletes, right, and then why is it decreasing after that time now? Remember, it increases now, right, to basically decrease the amount of lactic acid and carbon dioxide concentration in the blood, etc., right? It decreases that, right? And then after a while now, it will no longer be efficient, as the heart cannot feel efficiently after it reaches a certain beats per minute. So the parasympathetic nervous system now will counteract the sympathetic nervous system and start to bring everything back down and try to now reacquire proper cardiac output. Okay? What is happening in that question? When I was doing this question, I write until line done and I draw a line under here. Right? I was just writing about that. So you need to be able to understand how that works, right? But it's for that question. Let's hope that a question like that will not come like this year. Okay? Because that question truly tests, right, your application and the use of knowledge more so than you just regurgitating information.